With the release of Squid Game Season 2, fans can finally evaluate the show's new direction. Has it lost its essence? When comparing the two seasons, many feel the answer is clear. The story seems to have taken a hit, but not for the protagonist, who's undergone an impressive glow-up. Instead, it's the secondary characters surrounding him that contribute to the season's shortcomings. The story picks up right where Season 1 left off. Seong Gi-hun's bold red hair doesn't last long before we see him adopt a fresh haircut that gives him a more commanding presence. From the show's creator himself, we know Netflix requested a slightly open ending for Season 1, in case the series achieved the anticipated success. This approach allowed for future seasons, even though Squid Game was originally envisioned as a standalone film. Season 2 had potential, with intriguing threads left unexplored in Season 1, like the inner workings of the island, the history of the games, or how it all began. Instead, the new season focuses heavily on Gi-hun's revenge arc, albeit with a questionable plan. This kind of narrative has worked well in movies like John Wick, where the Assassin's Guild became a fan-favorite concept and inspired multiple sequels and spin-offs. However, in Squid Game, the execution doesn't quite hit the mark. The first two episodes feel underwhelming. They depict Gi-hun living in the shadows, leading a small group determined to track down the recruiter. This character, a brilliant, cautious individual, could have been pivotal to the story. After all, it took 3 years to locate him. Yet his arc is abruptly resolved with a game of Russian roulette. Despite his intelligence and resourcefulness, he turns out to be just another pawn in the organization's hierarchy. Gi-hun's elaborate plan eventually works. Through sheer persistence, he convinces the front man to include him in the next round of deadly games. This time, however, he comes prepared. A tracking device hidden in one of his teeth, and a team ready to infiltrate the island. Among them is the familiar face of the detective, who miraculously survived his gunshot wound and fall, only to be rescued by a fishing boat. It's in the third episode where the season finally picks up, introducing us to a new group of participants. Unfortunately, this is where disappointment sets in for many viewers. The comparisons to Season 1 are inevitable, and the difference is stark. Without much dialogue, the original cast made it easy to empathize with the heroes and appreciate the villain's charisma. In Season 2, however, the charm and depth of the characters are noticeably diminished. Season 2 introduces a host of new characters, each bringing unique motivations to the deadly games, though not all resonate with viewers. First, we have Gi-hun's old friend, Jung-bae, briefly seen in Season 1. While his return suggests potential for growth, his role works better as a supporting character rather than a central figure. Then there's No Ul, a North Korean defector searching for her missing daughter. Her story initially seems compelling. She works as a children's entertainer and encounters a desperate father trying to raise money for his daughter's life-threatening illness. Unfortunately, this subplot ultimately doesn't carry much weight in the overarching narrative. Hyunju, a transgender woman and former soldier, participates to fund her gender-affirming surgeries. While some might initially dismiss her inclusion as token representation, she emerges as one of the season's standout characters. Her depth and resilience are a refreshing addition. Park Young-sik, a reformed gambler drowning in debt, enters the games alongside his mother, Jang Geum-ja, who aims to clear her son's financial burdens. The coincidence of family members entering the same competition raises eyebrows, but it could be an intentional manipulation by the organization to heighten the drama for their twisted spectacle. Daeho, a former Marine, quickly bonds with Jung-bae as they share a military background. Initially portrayed as a relentless, loyal, and fearless competitor, his character takes a controversial turn later in the season, leaving many viewers divided. Kim Jun-hee, an ex-girlfriend of another participant, Lee Myung-gi, brings a layer of personal drama to the group. Myung-gi is a cryptocurrency influencer whose disastrous advice caused Jun-hee to lose everything. Complicating matters, she's pregnant. However, this detail, surprisingly, has little impact on the plot. The most intriguing addition to the cast is Hwang In-ho, player 001, the masked leader and brother of the detective from Season 1. Posing as an ally among the good guys, his infiltration of Gi-hun's group adds layers of tension and complexity to the narrative. Now, the antagonists. This is where the casting quality noticeably falters. The primary antagonist to the group is Thanos, a rapper and bully whose role leans more toward comic relief than genuine menace. Instead of instilling fear or respect, he often feels like a parody, diminishing the stakes of his actions. The games begin with a familiar face. Red light, green light. Fans of the first season will recognize this deadly children's game. However, those who've watched behind-the-scenes content or cultural breakdowns may know that the original Korean phrase in the game translates differently than its English adaptation. In this opening game, Gi-hun attempts to guide as many players as possible safely across the finish line. But with over 450 desperate participants, keeping everyone alive proves impossible. Chaos ensues, and disaster becomes inevitable. One of the strongest elements of Season 2 is Seong Gi-hun's transformation. Gon is the kind, good-natured man we saw in Season 1. Gi-hun is now a determined individual, hardened by his experiences and laser-focused on stopping the games. His demeanor is somber. He never smiles, but his core values remain intact. His only goal is to dismantle the system. However, his plan is riddled with loopholes and oversights, which inevitably shape the season's progression. As expected, the participants' desperation and greed lead them to vote in favor of continuing the games. This time, the creators add a compelling twist. After each game, players can vote to leave with the money they've earned, if the majority agrees. While this adds an interesting moral dilemma, the lure of money and the crushing weight of debt push most participants to set morality aside. Gi-hun tries to guide the group and make them see reason, but his efforts backfire. Instead of gaining their trust, he's accused of being an infiltrator or attempting to use his experience for personal gain. The second game introduces an unexpected twist. After lengthy and somewhat tedious character-driven dialogues aimed at fleshing out motivations, the next challenge arrives. Unlike the previous games, this one is a collection of mini-games. Simple, familiar tasks that must be completed in sequence to cross the finish line within a set time limit. The team formation phase, requiring groups of 5, gives us a deeper look into the cast of characters who will drive this installment forward. These moments allow for some meaningful development, though not all interactions feel equally compelling. The real draw, of course, remains the execution of the deadly games. The tension, strategies, and shocking outcomes keep the audience on edge. Although suspicions arise about whether the masked leader might betray the group, Gi-hun's team manages to complete the challenge and advance to the next round. A subplot that fails to land is the organ trafficking storyline. Just like in Season 1, this angle feels unnecessary and underdeveloped. It doesn't serve the main plot, or even qualify as a significant secondary storyline. Its inclusion seems more like a distraction than an enhancement. Similarly, the detective subplot returns, intertwining with the main story but failing to make a meaningful impact. This time, the detective works with another team member to locate the island. However, when they arrive, the transmitter hidden in Gi-hun's tooth is removed, leaving them stranded without a lead. An intriguing twist emerges when it's revealed that the ship's captain is a mole planted by the organization. This revelation explains why the detective spent years unsuccessfully searching for the island. It was never meant to be found. By the 5th episode, the series slows down significantly with dialogue-heavy scenes. Another vote is held to decide whether to continue or leave the games, and this time the results are split evenly. This close call divides the participants into 2 factions: those determined to keep playing for the money and those desperate to escape the nightmare. After a relatively calm night, the next game is announced. Participants must form groups based on a number provided by the announcer and lock themselves in designated rooms. While the task seems simple, the decision-making under pressure adds a layer of suspense. Predictably, the main characters manage to survive. Once again, another vote ends in a tie, further fueling the tension. The bathroom brawl introduces a brutal turning point. During the chaos, Thanos attempts to assert his dominance yet again, but is taken out by Lee Myung-gi, who uses a fork to end the bully's reign of terror. The fight escalates into a full-blown conflict, resulting in 5 casualties. The tense atmosphere sets the stage for what feels like an inevitable bloodbath. Gi-hun devises a bold plan to avoid further carnage and target the guards during the chaos. His group successfully overpowers most of the guards, taking one hostage to guide them to the control room. While the plan briefly works, it's riddled with logical flaws. The group is outnumbered, unfamiliar with their surroundings, and ill-equipped for a sustained fight. The action sequences that follow are serviceable, but feel out of place in a series known for its psychological tension and suspense. These scenes lean more toward conventional action, a far cry from the elements that made Squid Game a global phenomenon. In the end, the masked leader betrays the rebels, leaving Gi-hun defeated and setting up the events for the 3rd and final season. Some storylines fall flat, leaving untapped potential. No Eul, the North Korean defector, could have been a standout character. Her role as a guard executing participants, coupled with the moment she recognizes the father of the girl she once entertained, offered a prime opportunity for a gripping moral dilemma. Unfortunately, this subplot goes nowhere, leaving viewers disappointed. Another head-scratcher is Thanos' drug-laced cross. Players are supposedly stripped of all belongings upon entering the game, yet he somehow smuggles in a massive cross with drugs inside, a glaring inconsistency. The lack of games undermines the core appeal of the series. With only 3 games played, the 2nd season falls short of delivering the high-stakes progression that defined the original. Fans also criticize the inclusion of background music during the games and the occasional attempts at humor, which clash with the dramatic tone that Squid Game is known for. Ultimately, the season feels like filler. For many, this installment serves more as a bridge to the 3rd season rather than a compelling narrative in its own right. It fails to introduce significant new elements or expand the story in meaningful ways. The post-credits scene left many intrigued about a small clue to the 3rd and final season. The first game, Red Light, Green Light, undergoes a modification, which explains why the masked man decided to participate and thus find the weak points. Like the strategy of covering one another, evading the front motion detector, thus with the child's doll behind would be even more complex, as well as the roofed sky to avoid being found by drones, contributing something significant to the detective plot. It is speculated that the surviving players will have to continue playing, and this time it will be even more difficult to survive. Reason why Seong Gi-hun is left alive. So, what's your take on Season 2 of Squid Game? Was it 7 episodes of filler? A result of Netflix pressuring creator Hwang Dong-hyuk to stretch the series unnecessarily? Or did it still offer moments of intrigue despite its shortcomings? Or, if you liked it, you can leave it in the comments. Until a new video.